Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Today, President Joe Biden signed an executive order on digital assets. Now, we've been waiting to see the contents of this executive order for probably close to half a year at this point. If memory serves, it was first announced that it was being worked on back in October of last year, and there were many fears, and I understand why, from people within the world of crypto about this potentially being some sort of draconian approach that would harm crypto. But as it turns out, it's been pretty well universally praised, just about universally praised from pretty much everybody that's interested in crypto. And I'll tell you what, a lot of the times I don't like executive orders because what I've seen in modern politics is that they're frequently used to skirt the system that's set up within the United States, which is to say, rather than get a law passed through Congress, just assign an executive action. Just skirt the system. And so, of course, those only last for as long as that particular president that signs it is in office. So executive orders can be short-lived, but still, I don't like the way that frequently they're used. But that really wasn't the case here. Having read through this, I have no concerns that this was used in an inappropriate way. This really does just cover stuff having to do with digital assets, central bank digital currencies, specifically risks to the global monetary system, including what role the United States should have, especially if there's a central bank digital currency that's launched. And I got to tell you this at the outset of the video. This proves that Ripple positioning XRP as a bridge currency, that being a core component of their business model, is just hitting the nail on their head. I'm going to show you... I'll tell you what, there are 9 instances of cross-border transactions in this executive order, and so it's understood how impactful this digital assets can be, whether you're talking about central bank digital currencies or XRP specifically as a bridge currency. There does seem to be an understanding that efficiencies are to be picked up here, and it's just affirmation that the route that Ripple's going on, it's the right path. And even the government at the highest levels does seem to understand that. And I'm not kidding. Like, they're even talking about how central bank digital currencies would interact with decentralized cryptocurrencies. And they're not citing XRP specifically, but obviously XRP would be one to consider. And so the implications for XRP's long-term viability and being positioned as a bridge currency, very good. This is just something that reinforces its particular use case as a bridge currency. That's how Ripple wants to position it. Of course, it can do all sorts of other things. It's a permissionless system, so developers building on top of Ledger can use it for whatever the hell they want to use it for. Also noteworthy, Bitcoin was not mentioned one single time in this whole thing. Also somewhat regrettable, I think it's fair to say, there was almost nothing about decentralization. There are 2 mentions of decentralization within this whole thing, and there's no emphasis at all in terms of moving forward with permissionless systems. And in fact, it's really heavy on the central bank digital currency stuff, but are you surprised to hear that? So it's not that this is perfect and still things can go terribly wrong, but the order itself, what I'm sharing with you, is that there's nothing horrific about it. And mind you, I don't have a financial background of any kind. I'm not offering financial advice, so you should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys talking about this stuff. Just, on YouTube, just as a hobby, just for fun. But, man, what a read this has been. And so, actually, I think I'm going to start off by sharing with you some comments from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, Congressman Tom Emmer, who is very pro-XRP, and he has stated that he doesn't believe XRP is is a security, rather. I got a couple comments from Anthony Pompliano, who is a Bitcoin maximalist, and also attorney John Deaton. So let's dig in here. And then after that, I am going to share with you, because I printed this thing up, you can hear this, got some dead trees in my hand right here. I'm going to break down some of the comments specifically having to do with cross-border and exactly what this would mean for XRP being positioned as a bridge currency. It's all good stuff in terms of long-term viability, though, I'll tell you that. And so here's what Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse had to say. Like many of you, I thought the Biden administration's executive order would acknowledge crypto, but not detail specifics on next steps for regulation. However, I was pleasantly surprised and inspired by the executive order acknowledging the need for evolution and alignment of the government's approach to crypto. So I'll just pause to note, I agree with that. As written, the executive order, it's not demanding a whole bunch of stuff. It's demanding a report be created and submitted to the president within 180 days, and there's stuff along those lines. But that's innocuous at this point. It's more like, what's the next step? What's going to be in the report? And whose political aims are actually going to be fed into the most? See, that's what we'll be watching on the next step. But the executive order itself, not exactly alarming whether you're on the left or the right politically, does not matter. It really isn't alarming, honestly. That's my humble opinion. Anyway, Brad Garlinghouse continues. First and foremost, this is an affirmation that crypto is here to stay. Thoughtful policy involves timely input from players, and there's a lot, across the federal government. I don't want to mistake activity for progress, but this does feel like it could be a turning point. The White House finally says what we and the industry have been saying for years. If the United States wants to maintain its status as a responsible tech leader, it needs to provide a clear regulatory framework for an industry that's exploding in growth. 40 million Americans and counting, in fact. Years of damage done by the SEC's siloed regulation by enforcement approach can be undone through collaboration between all agencies. Ripple stands ready to educate and assist. If we are to catch up with the rest of the world, we need prompt and decisive action ASAP. Brad Garlinghouse gets a golf clap for that one. Yeah, so I agree with these statements, and it is nice, because here's one of the things also, and I've mentioned this a number of times on the channel, and Brad was touching on it here. The SEC, he's talking about siloed regulation by enforcement. Yeah, it's pretty much just in the SEC, whatever they want to dictate, cram down the throats of everybody in the space. But what's the president asking for here? Asking for collaboration across a number of entities, and so you might think, okay, if this is a beginning point, if it is, and this could still be ruined, because mind you, we are talking about government here, and the government is, generally speaking, incompetent, and not to be trusted, right? Given that's the case, if this leads to something happening in Congress, if Congress gets proactive pertaining to crypto, and it gets to a point where we're dictating, I shouldn't use the word dictate now, but if they're creating laws that, and policies, regulation that say who's in charge of what, it should go there. Because here's the thing, there's a reason that I've been also talking about how lobbying is absolutely crucial in getting some sort of understanding set forth within the United States of who's in charge of what as it pertains to crypto. There's a lot of uncertainty there, and so in this vacuum, what's happened is the SEC's come in and just said, we're in charge of everything. So I'm hoping we can get some sort of bill, something passed through Congress, with the people in Congress deciding who exactly is in charge of what, taking some of the power away from the SEC. So that's certainly a hope as well. And then there was this from Tom Emmer. I'm not going to share his whole thread. It was mostly very good. He did say one thing that was just blatantly incorrect. He said that there's no mention of decentralization in this, and there were 2 mentions of decentralization. But I will say one of those was in the context of concerned about what it means, I'm paraphrasing here, but in terms of potential illicit activity as a result of decentralized digital assets. So it's not like it was good, but there were technically 2 mentions of decentralization. He is right that there wasn't a strong emphasis in terms of the permissionless cryptocurrencies and understanding what the implications of that technology were. Is really a lot more heavy on central bank digital currencies. But one thing that Congressman Tom Emmer did retweet in this thread was the following, and I love this one, and so I retweeted it actually before recording this. He wrote, "Most fortunately, the executive order doesn't ask the SEC to weigh in. SEC Chair Gensler has spent the past year intimidating crypto innovators and entrepreneurs with his unproductive regulation by public statement and enforcement action. His input is not critical." You gotta love seeing that. Here's a tweet, and I'm just going to share the first tweet. He had a thread here also. A lot of people had threads. From Jeremy Allaire, who is the co-founder and CEO of Circle. And he wrote the following. White House Executive Order and U.S. Government Strategy for Digital Assets. A thread with thoughts. This is a watershed moment for crypto, digital assets, and Web3, akin to the 1996/1997 whole of government wake up to the commercial internet. And so I think it's fair to say that it could be equivalent to that. It perhaps is. I'm just waiting to see if the government's going to absolutely just screw this thing up. I think there's a lot more risk when it comes to something like this as opposed to the internet, because specifically when you're talking about how this is going to be regulated within the United States, understand that the United States is in control of the dollar, the United States dollar, which is the global reserve. The United States has more to lose than any other country on the planet if a decentralized cryptocurrency becomes the global reserve. And so it's not a surprise to me to see that there's such a strong push in terms of getting their heads around what it would mean to launch a central bank digital currency, which is probably inevitable. I suspect that's going to happen at some point. And here's a Bitcoin maximalist Anthony Pompliano. He shared the following. Every critic who told you that the government was going to ban Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies was wrong. These technologies are imperative to innovation, job creation, and economic prosperity. The White House is looking to embrace the industry, not outlaw it. Okay, fair. I actually like that tweet, and I tend to agree with it. I think based on the tone from the executive order and how it was written, yes, that's correct. That's why I said forward thinking, though, like looking down the path, what's actually coming. Well, that's what we got to watch, because there are all sorts of people with all sorts of different interests, and I'm just concerned about the, endless number of ways that this could be absolutely destroyed in terms of approach. Anthony Pompliano also tweeted out this. And I'm going to critique this. He wrote, the United States just publicly said they want to be the leader in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. The global competition is underway. And then he shared this snippet. But he literally said something that's not true. There's zero mentions of Bitcoin in this thing. But this is what happens if you're a maximalist. Nothing personal, Anthony Pompliano, but what you wrote here literally is not true. Bitcoin absolutely was not mentioned, so I'm sorry, respectfully calling you out, sir. It's good for crypto in general, at least at this point. But again, to state that United States wants to be the leader in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, if anything, they want to be the leader as they currently are, but just in a new digital form with a central bank digital currency. That looks more like that to me. Then there was this from Attorney John Deaton. The EO, Executive Order, directs agencies to work with our allies and partners to ensure international frameworks. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority declared XRP a non-security. Japan's FSA declared XRP a non-security. Switzerland, the UAE, Singapore, and other countries around the world say XRP is not a security. So just highlighting this, because XRP is not explicitly stated here, but they did talk about, again, cross-border transactions and how a central bank digital currency would interact with them. And we still in the United States don't have legal clarity surrounding XRP, although that's just temporary, right? And then there was this from Gary Gensler. I forgot to let you know at the outset. He chimed in, of course. Here's what Gary Gensler said, and then I'm going to share with you what John Deaton's response was to this. But SEC Chair Gary Gensler said the following. Today, the President of the United States signed an executive order on crypto assets. I look forward to collaborating with colleagues across the government to achieve important public policy goals, protecting investors and consumers, guarding against illicit activity, and helping ensure financial stability. Yay, Gary, I can't wait for you to protect me more. I feel so protected. I sleep so easy at night knowing you're out there protecting me. Here's what John Deaton had to say about that. Gary Gensler and Senator Elizabeth Warren's approach against crypto will lose in the end. The fact that Gensler's first public comment regarding the executive order highlights illicit activity but leaves out capital formation tells you everything you need to know about his intent. Isn't that something? Isn't the SEC, isn't that part of their mission to help facilitate or capital formation? Yes, the answer is yes, of course. But he's just talking about protecting us because we can't take care of ourselves. We're just the dumb public. But he's Gary Gensler, and he comes flying in with a cape to save the day. Ooh, Gary, man. And so there's that. It's the and that and illicit activity. That's what he's tweeting about in his first tweet about this. Well, let me take a sip of water here. Now let's go ahead and dig into this big bad boy right here. There's only a few parts I want to highlight. This thing's very long. It would be to actually go through this would be, I think, more than what is necessary for the sake of a video like this. But I do want to highlight some interesting parts having to do specifically with cross-border payments. And so I hit Control F, and you can see I searched, and there's 9 mentions of cross-border payments here. Let's start at the top here. Here's the first one. Right here. So it goes down to about there. Yep, there we go. The United States has an interest in responsible financial innovation, expanding access to safe and affordable financial services, and reducing the cost of domestic and cross-border funds transfers and payments, including through the continued modernization of public payment systems. So look, they see that the United States has an interest in cost reduction, including cross-border payments. So the question is, what are they going to find it makes sense to do in order to achieve these cost savings? Well, that's where I'm still kind of somewhat concerned, but I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. I think that they're going to pull like a J.P. Morgan and a Goldman Sachs and a Citi, because they're all banks creating their own coins, and they're gonna hope that that's the coin to be adopted for all global cross-border payments. But that is not how things work. You're not going to be able to make markets with every single asset the world over. In particular, when there's counterparty risk, how are you going to get individuals to? Because think about it, yes, the United States dollar, it's already the global reserve, but it doesn't mean that that's the fiat currency. It's not the currency of choice for people around the world. There are all sorts of fiat currencies used in different corners of the world. That's not going to change, because understand, the United States dollar, it's already digital. We're just talking about making it a new form of digitalization. It's called a central bank digital currency. And so you can cut out middlemen, you can pick up efficiencies, all that's true, but the underlying monetary policy does not change at all. The trust concerns do not change, not one single iota. None of that changes one single bit. And so it's not going to be the case that just because a bank coin exists or a stable coin exists or a central bank digital currency exists, it's not the case that that's just going to be used as an intermediary for all coins. Because if you think that that's the case, and some maximalists, without thinking through things in depth, they make these claims, and they clearly haven't thought through like how a simple payment flow works. Like if you're talking about like Tether taking over, as some of these maximalists claim, like why just Tether can just take over, right? Well, what if you are in a country that doesn't utilize the United States dollar in any sort of way, and you need to convert to a different fiat currency that also has nothing to do with the United States dollar? Well, they're going to start holding a stable coin which represents the dollar in between, just because, and they're going to take on that counterparty risk because reasons. And then even if you did, who's going to facilitate the software and the customer service to make it happen between remittance firms? Like, there's all sorts of reasons that this falls apart here. And so it's really more so like a central bank digital currency, while the United States federal government, yes, they'd love to have it be the case that everybody's just using the United States dollar, just further ensuring that the United States dollar stays the global reserve. It's not going to play out like that. Different people, different geographic regions. I mean, there's geopolitical interests the world over. So all of those things actually don't change one little tiny baby boo bit in the least. So it's okay. So you might ask then, why would the United States want to create a central bank digital currency then? Well, again, there are efficiencies to be picked up. And now also there's some stuff to be concerned about. And that's why I'm somewhat in the middle. Like, in terms of central bank digital currencies, they're coming no matter what, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it seems pretty clear, the writing's on the wall. I have genuine concerns though, and everybody listening should, because you can go for full authoritarian here because think about it, in terms of the degree to which every single transaction can easily be tracked specifically and immediately by the federal government. Like, there are real concerns here. And so if there aren't protections, then you got a problem. And so the rest of the world, yes, they're going to be launching their own central bank digital currencies. If the United States doesn't, then it's just going to be that much more likely that the United States dollar is no longer going to be the global reserve. So I get it. It's got to happen. I'm just concerned about government overreach as it pertains to that. That's all I'm saying on that particular point. But in terms of picking up the efficiencies, hell, if the government didn't suck so much, you could even use those efficiencies to make tax reporting that much easier. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do. I understand that. I'm just not confident that they're actually going to pull it off. But that's kind of what we're looking at here. So let me scroll down a little bit further. There's another section on... Hold on, make sure I don't skip something here. Let me go to Here we go. I need to go to E. Sorry, folks. Just want to scroll right on down here. Scroll, scroll, scroll. There we go. Yeah, this is it right here. Executive order reads as follows. We must promote access to safe and affordable financial services. Many Americans are underbanked, and the costs of cross-border money transfers and payments are high. And so, again, there's a recognition that there's a better way to facilitate domestic and international payments, including and settlement. They do understand that. And I do like that they don't pretend to know everything. They literally are seeking information from knowledgeable individuals. But they get right now. It's not a question of, are we going to progress? Are we going to find a solution? The answer is yes. I just hope that it's not botched. That's all that I'm saying, as I've said multiple times in this video. Let me scroll a little bit further here now. Yes. Oh, here we go. I think this is the part I wanted. Yes. I think it's section 3 here. Yeah, here we go. A United States central bank digital currency may have the potential to support efficient and low-cost transactions, particularly for cross-border funds transfers and payments, and to foster greater access to the financial system, with fewer of the risks posed by private sector administered digital assets. There you go, with fewer of the risks posed by private sector administered digital assets. So what direction are they going? They do not like permissionless decentralized cryptocurrencies, at least not as much as the central bank digital currency, which they think, it's their goal, to cement the power of the United States dollar. So it's not that they're squashing at this point Bitcoin or XRP or decentralized cryptocurrencies, networks that are permissionless. They're not squashing those, but they're definitely not interested in heavily promoting them. They're going to be included in this little research packet that the president demanded here via executive order, but it's not something that they're being a cheerleader for. But are you surprised by that? I sure as hell am not surprised by that. They would love for everybody to just use a United States central bank digital currency, everybody on the planet, and it can just go from wallet to wallet. There you go. You don't even need an intermediary then. You just move it from one wallet to the next. But that's not how this is going to work. I think once this is all said and done, you just wait. There will be wallets out there, and you'll have your XRP in your wallet right next to your United States central bank digital currency, if that's what you use, or whatever your fiat currency is of choice if there's a central bank digital currency. But that's just going to increase adoption of decentralized cryptocurrencies as well. Think about it. If you're onboarding customers, or not customers in this case, it would just be citizens of the United States and others around the world to utilize a central bank digital currency. Well, if think about the implications, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be in a wallet, and developers will build on top of that just wallet access to it. Just like with the XRP ledger, any third party can come aboard and create their own wallet so you can hold your XRP in their own branded wallet. Well, there will be third parties that create wallets that hold both. And so, again, if you get onboarded because you want to use the United States dollar and now it's a CBDC, central bank digital currency, well, you're just like a button tap away from being able to get or accept any sort of other decentralized cryptocurrency as well. So that's a good thing in terms of adoption of cryptocurrency, specifically decentralized cryptocurrencies. And then it also reads as follows: a United States central bank digital currency that is interoperable with central bank digital currencies issued by other monetary authorities could facilitate faster and lower cost cross-border payments and potentially boost economic growth, support the continued centrality of the United States within the international financial system, and help to protect the unique role that the dollar plays in global finance. And that's all actually true, which you'd think, well, that sounds bad for XRP. Not exactly, folks. Not exactly here. Look, they're trying to expand what effectively is a walled garden. It's the same thing that I was talking about. I've talked about this many times. Like, if you go back to the 90s, AOL, America Online, you may be familiar with Prodigy or CompuServe. These are like their own little versions of the internet, walled off from one another, but they all had access to the World Wide Web, the actual internet. And so what happened? Well, AOL and Prodigy, the CompuServe, they all went away. Because if you have a broader ecosystem with no walls, which is the World Wide Web, the actual internet, well, of course that's going to reign supreme ultimately here. And so conceptually, that's what you'd expect to see here when it comes to moving value around the planet as well, and the networks that make that possible. So yes, you could use you can reduce costs to some degree, in theory, in closed networks. If you have a bank A in the United States, bank B, and pick your other country on the other side, you can form relationships. That's what already happens in the legacy financial system, folks. That's already happening. And so if there are efficiencies to be picked up thanks to the technology, okay, cool. It's still a closed network, though. And anybody not in that network, there isn't going to be any sort of interoperation. You're still going to need a bridge currency, XRP, to convert from one fiat currency to another. That will always be the case. You're never going to get everybody inside of your walled garden. So again, if there are efficiencies to be picked up, super duper. Don't care. It doesn't change the story here. And then they also note the following. Let me go I think it's a little bit lower. Here we go. So this is the part where the president's executive order talks about how that 180 days, once all of these individuals and departments, agencies within the government, to send them a report about crypto, digital assets in general, everything that's covered within this piece. And then it states, based on the potential United States central bank digital currency design options, this report shall include an analysis of, and then it names a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to name all of it, but if you look at number 3 right here, it is, they want the report to include how a central bank digital currency, how they word this. Number 3, they want an analysis of the potential relationship between a central bank digital currency and a private sector administered digital assets. So there could mean a couple things by that. If you're talking about centralized, like a tether or something, okay, interesting. But they didn't say specifically centralized, so presumably it would be permissioned and permissionless cryptocurrencies, including the likes of, like XRP, for example. So they are looking at exactly how the relationship between a central bank digital currency and decentralized cryptocurrencies would look. Folks, that's exactly the use case of XRP as Ripple's positioning it as a bridge currency. That's exactly it, and they're looking for information specifically on that within this executive order. This is Ripple's plan. In fact, take a look at this as a friendly reminder right here. This is from March 3rd of last year, 2021, from Ripple Insights. That's their official blog series. Ripple pilots a private ledger for central banks launching central bank digital currencies. And let me scroll down to the relevant portion here. And so they're just explaining, this was when the news was announced that Ripple, they literally created a private ledger. It's a private version of the XRP ledger, completely disconnected from the XRP ledger. It's not a part of that blockchain. And it's designed it's basically a template so that nations around the world, central banks, can tweak the template, the code template, and have their own fiat currency in basically digital asset form, closer to what a cryptocurrency, traditional cryptocurrency would look like, even though it would be permissioned, of course. And the reason that Ripple's interested in this and pushing this, and the reason that Ripple's thrilled about the proliferation of central bank digital currencies the world over, is because they don't interoperate. And so what's Ripple's mission? A big part of it, positioning XRP as an intermediary, as a bridge currency to help central bank digital currencies operate with one another, interact, because they're not interoperable. So here's, in part, what was written in this piece over a year ago. The central bank digital currency private ledger is based on the same blockchain technology that powers the XRP ledger, which means that the central bank digital currency private ledger is built for payments. This also means the central bank digital currency private ledger is designed for issuing currencies, with over 5,400 currencies issued on the XRP ledger over the past 8 years, including its native digital asset XRP, and here's the money part right here, which can be leveraged as a neutral bridge asset for frictionless value movement between central bank digital currencies and other currencies. Bingo. Ding, 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 right there. You're not going to have markets made for one asset, whether it's a currency, a tokenized stock. It doesn't, and when I say currency, it doesn't matter if it's fiat currency, a cryptocurrency, whatever it is, whatever your tokenized asset is, you're not going to have markets made for all of them. You're going to need a bridge in between. So if you have a widely adopted cryptocurrency like XRP, it's perfect for that use case. So anyway, on the whole, this is a good start. I like to see where things are going. It just confirms further that Ripple's general idea about the adoption of XRP as a bridge currency, it's right on the money, right on the money. And all we need is one use case for XRP, one use case for any cryptocurrency, frankly, to take hold. And if you have one use case and it's solving real problems for real people the world over, that's all it takes for a cryptocurrency to have long-term viability. One single use case. Now, XRP has others, obviously, but I'm just saying if it has just one. And what does that mean? As more people pile in, wanting to diversify into crypto, what's that going to mean? Because there's a finite amount of XRP. It's supply and demand, folks. As more people jump in, assuming XRP does continue to get used as a bridge currency, very curious to see what that's going to result in over the next decade or 2 or 3 in terms of price action. It can get bonkers. Now, that's assuming that adoption continues to unfold in a positive manner, but it sure as hell looks like it, at least to this point. But I'll go ahead and wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.